And welcome to today's EFI webinar about printer and implant automation stories. EFI has recently produced an automation ebook that provides a phased approach of automating printing production processes. You can download it free of charge at fiery.efi.com/automation-ebook. It's a fascinating and well-constructed guide for implants and commercial printers considering automating their shops. The ebook outlines 6 levels of automation, from hot folders and presets, job and position and automation, basic and advanced pre-press automation, post-press automation, and finally, automation integrating with other systems. And as you'll hear from our 2 guests today, it really works. And the investments needed to get started are minimal to non-existent. As I said, today we are fortunate to be joined by Rob Leonard from EFI and 2 EFI Fiery users who have followed this automation approach and who are willing to share their real-life experiences automating their operations. John Rozema from Get It Now Print and Tom Polito from Atlantic Health Systems. They're going to share how they're automating their operations with various Fiery solutions, along with some demonstrations of how they're using Fiery Job Flow. Between this and the ebook, you'll have a good idea of how you might want to automate your own shop, including how to get started using some Fiery tools you probably already own. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Greg Chumley. I'm a printing industry workflow analyst who's been involved in the printing industry for nearly 40 years. I help vendors like EFI develop and promote print productivity solutions and also have a website, www.printelligence.org, that helps implants and commercial printers get their heads around the wide variety of solutions available to them. But enough about me. Guys, would you please take a few minutes to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Rob Leonard. I'm a Senior Sales Development Manager for EFI's Fiery Business Unit, and I assist OEMs, dealers, and customers in the United States supporting Pennsylvania, Maryland, DC, Virginia, and Delaware. And over the past 2 years, I've had the privilege to work with today's guests to help them automate their print shops with Fiery automation solutions.
And
John?
Yep, I'm John Rosema. I've worked in the printing industry for 35 plus years. I have a history of working for companies such as Sir Speedy, AB Dick, Diddy Web Press, Xerox, and when I bought Get It Now Print, it was a PIP franchise.
Good morning. I'm Tom Polito, Manager of Print Services at Atlantic Health System. We are an implant with a team of 8 employees. We print for our entire system, which includes 5 hospitals and over 300 physician offices. We currently submit our orders through Market Direct Storefront using Impose, JobMaster, and JobFlow for our workflows, and currently using PrintSmith Vision for MIS.
Okay, great. Thanks for introducing yourselves, guys. Let's start today's session by outlining how you previously handled jobs, the kinds of issues you were facing, and what you hoped to accomplish through automation. Let's start with you, Tom. What kinds of issues were you facing, and then what did you hope to accomplish by solving them?
When I first started here, our biggest issue was we had over 700 orders in our queue with 300 of them backlogged. We had outdated equipment and we had no automation software, so no Impo, no JobMaster or JobFlow. So overall, we were looking to reduce our prep time, our click charges, our overall cost, and turnaround times. And by doing so, we would reinvest those savings in other areas. And to achieve all that, we wanted to automate all our orders from Market Direct Storefront to the digital front ends, impose every order that we could, build templates, create presets, and implement an MIS system.
And you didn't say it, but I'm guessing with a 600, 700 order backlog, your customers weren't very happy, or your management, I would guess.
Not overly happy. It was like a fire drill every day trying to get orders out that were needed, or whoever was yelling and screaming the most.
So I think we could add customer satisfaction onto that list too.
There you go.
All right. What about you, John? What were your challenges?
Yeah, I mean, we were the graphic artists and things were doing a lot of repetitive work. And what I was looking to do is to cut time out of that repetitive work, to get a better consistency of the jobs that were going into the finishing area, primarily because every job would go through differently. It was priced differently, depending on what it is. So I was looking for a consistency straight across the board, just to primarily save money on my end. And I mean, coming down to gaps in the printing, where the job flow definitely helps us out. Having the graphic artist doing that imposition, we're able to control that 100%. And now the graphic artist is able to do her job, which is doing more design work. So it really helped out.
So you were trying to automate not just the pre-press stuff, but all the way to the cutter, right? And
Absolutely.
okay, great. That provides a good basis for today's discussions. I think a lot of the people who are listening have similar types of issues that they're facing. John, could you tell me you think you did earlier, what automation software do you currently have in your shop?
Yeah, in our shop, we have the storefront. We have Printsmith Vision. We have Fiery Job Flow, which I just mentioned. We have Fiery and Impose, and we have Fiery Server. And the newer pieces to my fleet are the Job Flow and the storefront.
Okay. What about you, Tom?
Our software for automation is very similar to John, actually, almost identical. We start with order submission through Market Direct Storefront. We're using Printsmith Vision for MIS and automation software Job Flow. We also have Job Master Impose, and everything goes down to the Fiery servers as well.
Okay, that's a pretty comprehensive suite. But I bet you guys didn't jump in and implement everything all at once. Tom, how did you start automating your shop? And let's take us up to the point where you added Job Flow.
Sure. So when we first started, we first created input templates on the Fiery front ends and processed our jobs that way. Then we started developing presets and hot folders using those info templates, and then integrated that into Market Direct Storefront, either through auto submission for static products or the submit option for ad hoc products.
Okay, what about you, John?
We started with the Fiery Server and Fiery Impose, and utilizing the hot folders. And we had multiple hot folders for depending on what jobs, and people really had to make decisions on what hot folder to put things in to make it work correctly for the job. So, and when we added the imposition templates to that, so that was the key thing of getting started with our automation. So
Now, were those imposition templates, were they difficult to set up?
No, I mean it's a standard imposition template that you use on the Fiery, and my printer just sets them up, and all you have to do is hit a save button, and they're there. So and then you would share that folder out. But when we added job flow, it made a huge change to the way we do things.
All right, that sounds like a good segue. Let's talk about adding job flow. So it sounds like with hot folders and impositioning templates, you were already automating some repetitive tasks or processing before you invested in job flow. What happened when you took the next step? What kinds of functions and jobs did you automate using job flow, and well, how did you go about making it happen?
Yeah, well, once we implemented job flow, we took the ability of our Duplo cutting machine, and with that, you're able to make cutting templates on the Duplo. And then what we would do is bring those cutting templates back into job flow, which will automatically set up the jobs for that. It saves a ton of time as far as my people up front. They don't have to send the job into multiple ways, and you'll see some of that in the demonstrations. Basically you'll see the automated JPEG production shown, which is really a powerful tool that's used multiple times a week here, just by collecting the files. And we used the EFI, but now we always check the library to see some of the new things that are out there, because other people are doing, because the library changes, and this is a growing product, and it's constantly growing, and people are doing more and more things with it. Every time I talk about it, I learn something new about it, as far as a new job that we can do in the job flow.
Tell me a little bit more about the cutting templates. One of the things that has always struck me about the new finishers that can be set up, you don't have to take a wrench out to reset these things. That's great, but you have to create a barcode. That means your pre-press person has to understand how the job's going to be finished and how to program the finisher and where to put the barcode on that. How does this help them?
Well, on the finishing end, it completely automates that. So basically, from the time the order is taken in to the time it makes it back to the cutting area, it's truly automated. Because what happens when we run it through the job flow, it goes through a series of checks, whether it's a 5x7 document, a 4x6 card, a business card, whatever it may be. And the way we have job flow set up, for all of these standard jobs that we do day in and day out, that there's no decisions being made because they're automatically imposed. They automatically come to the printer with a barcode on it, and we can take that stack of paper and put it in our Duplo machine, and it all automatically just cut all the different sizes by reading the barcodes on that stack of paper. Which and while that Duplo is running, it's a savings in effect because it's free time of people finishing as well, that they're able to work with while that machine is running and cutting the pieces.
Now you said something when you explained that, which I wasn't really thinking about, but you said that the software itself decides how to set up the job. So before that, you said that your operators or pre-press person, somebody had to drop the right job on the right hot folder. What you're saying is that the job flow does that now?
Right. When we started out before job flow, I had separate hot folders for different things because we had started with pieces of automation, and this is all included in your standard FireE that comes on top of the production printers today. And that's no charge. And even job flow, I believe, there's an introductory version that, isn't any charge. But what it does now is it does a series of checks. So it takes the time of people making decisions and eliminates mistakes as these jobs are done, because every cutting template is the same. And if it doesn't fit any of the models that we have, that job automatically shows up at the printer anyway, and then it's handled business as usual. So, and the operator there can then set up the job, but it just saves him so much time of just not having to set up the jobs, just putting the paper in, running, and creating that pile of paper that can go into our Duplo cutter.
Wow, that really is automation. Let's hear from Tom. How about you? What's your story?
Well, very similar to what John is doing. Our main focus with job flow when we started was business cards. We also have a Duplo 646 that we created a template, incorporate the barcode on the printing out of the Fiery. And that workflow was created with the assistance of EFI. We took an existing template and then modified it to meet our specific needs. So our workflow is that we submit all our orders to a hot folder, and then job flow collects 3 orders with like quantity and poses them on that Duplo template, and then pushes that file down to the front end for printing.
So you're saying you're not just using it to automate things, you're actually ganging similar jobs together and releasing them, right?
Correct. So as the orders come in, they go into job flow, and then job flow collects them on like quantity and if they're single or double-sided. And then as it gets groups of 3, it creates that final imposed file that gets pushed down to the Fiery for printing.
Nice. Okay. We've been talking about this stuff, but Rob, I know that you visited both John and Tom's shops, and when you went there, you recorded a demonstration of how they're using it, what they just talked about.
Sure.
Could you, Carlos, could you give Rob the presenter, and Rob, could you share a video of what you saw?
Sure. You can see my screen here with the EF stuff on it. Move some things out of the way. There we go. Fantastic. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you, there we go, is going to be the Get It Now MFP workflow. Now, this is, again, using job flow base. So like John alluded to earlier, there's a free version that you can download through the Fiery Software Manager to do exactly what John's doing here. But in this example, he's getting these cards or these pictures from a customer, and he has them in 11 by 17 sheets, and they're all JPEG files. So what John had to do in the past was go into each one of these and actually scale them to 12 by 18 and then change them from JPEG to PDF file. So what we're doing here in this example, you'll see, is we're going to send these to a zip file. Okay, so we created a zip file of all those images, and then his team renames it with a job number. Okay, so we'll name it MFP. Then after that, they'll drag that into what we call a smart folder, which goes to the job flow. So from here, we'll go over to job flow, and what you'll notice is the job's coming in, and you're going to see it's a real simple workflow. Literally, it's dropping it into a folder. It's looking at all those PDF files, JPEG files, converting them to PDF. Then it's going to send it down to a server preset where it's grabbing the proper paper and doing the resize to scale to fit. So the end result, if we actually go over to Command Workstation, you're going to see we have the files all ganged up, 41 pages. He's creating 2 copies. It throws it into the workflow MFP, and it's grabbing the proper media. So when they go to print it, you can see the end result here with a little double click in my job preview pane. You'll see that all the jobs or pictures are all ganged up into one job, and they've been scaled properly, and they're now PDF files. So that's an example of a free workflow that John created using job flow. Anything you'd like to add to that, John?
It's very easy to see that, but it's very hard to explain the amount of time that really saves. I mean, we're talking probably 30 plus minutes that we used to do, and utilizing the graphic artist to do that just to prepare that job for print. And now now it's a matter of someone that's not a trained graphic artist that just zips the files, names the file, and it appears at the printer. If the paper's in, that baby will run right away.
That's awesome. And then you're going to have your graphic designer work on more revenue generating work versus setting up a simple job like that. That's awesome.
That's the beauty of it.
Yep. So the next one here is the Duplo automation. And again, now this one was using the full version of JobFlow because of the automation piece of it. So we'll show you what happens here. So here we have a letter size document. We have a 4x6 postcard or invitation, and then we're going to have a 5x7 postcard here. Okay. So what we're going to do in this example is all the jobs, we're going to drop them into the ready to print file folder. We're dropping them into the Duplo main workflow. Okay. So we'll go and look at job flow. So again, these jobs are coming in and they're being processed, and they're kind of just going through each one of the scenarios for those jobs. And when they're done, you're going to see they're going to come to the job completed area. And let's click on this postcard, and we're going to show you in the background what's happening. So like John said earlier, we're looking to see what the size of the file is. Is it a business card size? Is it a postcard? Is it a 5x7, whatever? And you're going to notice here in this example, it saw that this card we're on is a 5x7. So now what we're doing to that file is we're generating bleed. We're rotating all the pages of portrait so we can lay it out properly and then impose it as a 4-up. Then we send it down to the Fiery where it selects the proper paper for the job. So if we take a quick look at the jobs, you can see what we did without even touching these files. You can see here we laid out a 4-up with the barcode John talked about earlier, specifically for the Duplo to pull that program. Here we have one that's a purchase orders. That's a 2-up letter size that we put on 12x18 paper. And then finally, we can look at the tickets that we created, which again, a different barcode, and it's set there as an 8-up ready for the Duplo for print. Anything you'd like to add to that, John?
No, and that's another thing that, I talked to a buddy of mine and I was showing him this, and I said, what do you do for, just adding drops and bleeds to a document? And everything comes ready. So if the documents don't have crop marks or bleed slugs on them, it automatically does that for you. But what he does is at the printer, he's enlarging things a percent and things like that. So he's not getting the true size of the piece going through. And I just showed him how easy this is, where you could have a finished product go basically to your printer, and all you got to do is tell it how many you're going to do and let it rip.
Fantastic, fantastic. Great. Okay, so let's go to the next piece of this. So the last thing I'm going to show you is the business card workflow that Tom talked about. And again, this is using the full version of Fiery JobFlow. So in this example here, we're actually inside a digital storefront. So he's getting these jobs here. And what we're doing is we're selecting all the business cards and we're dropping them into a business card folder. So what's going to happen now is you're going to see that the jobs are coming in, they're transferring, okay? And then also you'll notice that their quantities are 250 and they're in this output to the JobFlow folder. So now what happens, these jobs are going to transfer and they're coming right into JobFlow. So inside of JobFlow, what we're doing is we're collecting these in what we call collect module. So what we're doing is we're looking at the cards to see if it's a single-sided or double-sided, and we're putting those in the appropriate collection module. Then on top of that, we're waiting until we get 3 cards into the collection module. Once that happens, you're going to see we're merging them into a single job, okay? And then once it's all said and done, we can go and look at the Fiery, and what you're going to see the Fiery has done is we've gotten the business cards that come in. We're going to see there are 32 copies because 250 times 8 based off the stackings. 32 times that will give us about 250 business cards. Again, it's putting it to the proper paper, the proper workflow. And then if we actually go in and look at the end result, you're going to see that business card 1 is in the first slot. Okay. Business card 2 is in the second slot. And then business card 3, which is a little different, is in the third slot. And then here we've got the barcode that's set up for his Duplo 646. So that shows you a way to use the collect module and automate this. And then please keep in mind, you can use the collect module as a free, that's part of the job flow base, but we just added some additional automation to figure out single-sided versus double-sided to do this type of work. Anything you'd like to add to that, Tom?
No, I think you covered it very well. You know, it was a big time saver for us, automating the business card, orders that we get on a daily basis, and not having to touch it until it's ready to output and comes out. You pick up the stack, throw it in the Duplo, and out the other end you have your cards, and you put them in a box, and you're done.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing. Okay, I'm going to turn it back to Carlos or Greg, and you can take over.
Sounds good. Hey, yeah, so Carlos, give me the controls. And while we're doing that, Rob, I have a couple of questions for you. First off, these guys are all sending things to the Duplo, which is great. But does it work with other vendors finishing?
Absolutely. All we have to do is know what their template layouts are, and we can configure those specifically for their devices. And I've done it for other manufacturers out there. So it doesn't have to be a Duplo. It can be any type of finishing device. We can create templates for it.
Okay. And you mentioned the free job flow, and which I think is called job flow base, and the paid job flow. They both sound like they do a lot. What's the difference?
The difference really being is with the full version of job flow, you really get that automation that includes some of the components of Pit Stop Professional, where we can route jobs based off of what we're seeing inside the file. We can do approvals, okay, with that solution as well, where we can actually have soft proofs go out to people, those types of things. So those are some of the differences. If you go to EFI.com/job flow, you'll actually be able to find a nice brochure that actually gives you the differences between the two.
Cool. All right. Well, let's make it real. You've talked about what you did and you showed how it works, but it really comes down to what it does for you. At the beginning, John, you listed out a series of objectives. And what I'd like to know now is, did you hit these objectives, or are you on track to achieve them? And what kinds of results have you seen so far?
Yes, we had really good results, and we are very happy with what we achieved. So we followed our plan to reduce our prep time, our click time, our overall cost, and our turnaround times, and we were able to either auto submit or submit 85 to 90% of our orders from Market Direct storefront to our Fiery front ends. We added the Duplo 646 and brought business cards in-house, and we have saved over $100,000 annually by doing that. We reduced our turnaround time from 5 to 7 days to 1 to 3 days. We've implemented a MIS system, and while reducing our overall cost, we also increased the amount of work we do, and did all that without increasing our workforce, and we eliminated any overtime that we had done in the past. And with all those automation implementations, we were able to save quite a bit of money and reinvest that. And we mainly put that into our wide format department over the past several years. And we were able to acquire an EFI H1625 LED wide format printer, a Roland VG2 646 roll-to-roll printer, as well as a Colex Sharp Cut. And we did all that without increasing our budget. So I would say we were very successful in achieving our objectives and reinvesting those savings.
And let me take a minute here just to point out something that John said, because I work with implants, spent a lot of my career work with implants, and I spent a lot of my career working on ROI tools and justifications and things. And what people tend to do is they say, well, I can save this much time, this many budget hourly rate is this, I can save this much money. And if you're an implant, then great, that says I can get this much done with this much less budget. And you know what happens? That means that next year they reduce your budget by that much. And the following year they say, well, what have you done for me lately? How do you reduce your budget even more? And instead, what I heard you say, John, is you took what you saved in terms of time and other money, and you were able to reinvest that to expand your services and add more value to your institution. And that's completely different. That isn't just saving a few bucks here and there. That's growing your business internally, right?
Correct. That was exactly what our plan included. And when we started, management was on board to let us expand our product offerings so we could further save money for the entire system.
Well, that's huge. I congratulate you. That's a mindset that a lot of implants don't really, grasp, and it's huge because it increases your stature in it, and it's a lot like the mindset of a commercial printer, because I'm sure that Tom wasn't buying this to say, how do I shrink my business? He's doing the same types of things. So, Tom, let's go to you and see, you had a series of objectives. Did you achieve them?
I was looking to automate from the, to the cutter, and I definitely am achieving that. Another thing that I was looking to do is offer more services, and I definitely am doing that because now I put in a flatbed, which without having to hire more people, I'm able to keep that running as well because it freed up people's times, and overall reduction of cost. All I got to say is, like, especially the times when COVID was here and a lot of people were working remotely and things like that, it was very easy to submit jobs and make everything still work the same because it wasn't people, it was software that was doing those decisions that were already preset in time. So it's really helped us out greatly in all different ways.
Again, a great view that you're not looking at how do I reduce my staff or things like that. You're looking at how do I use my staff to grow my business and do more than I ever could before, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a much, much more powerful position. So the great thing that I heard, one of the great things I heard about all this is that while you guys, it sounds like you had an automation plan, you didn't have to architect an all-inclusive automation system. Like when you start out, when you put in an MIS system, you really got to think about everything, every aspect of your business before you start implementing anything. Instead, you had a plan, but you've been organically implementing it as your needs and understanding evolve and as your opportunities arise. So with that in mind, it doesn't sound like you're at the end of the automation road. John, what do you have your eyes on working on next?
You're basically looking to do some automated pre-flighting and more of a soft proofing workflow that can, see so my end customer can see what's actually going to come off the printer via soft proof instead of just, something comes out of InDesign or Illustrator. Because this way they see actually what's going to happen as it makes it through the printer, and that'll eliminate a whole different level of errors. And that's really what my next steps will be.
And so how do you do soft proofing now, or do you?
Right now, what we do on the soft proof end, and we almost have this put together. On the soft proof end, what we do is they actually make a PDF. I think every time, or they have a thing that they pull in that says proof on it, and they put it in the background and lock down the document. This way, they'll be able to print it as they normally print it. Well, the one thing I like is not a change of workflow. It's just so they have everything, they're doing it the same way, so that eliminates more mistakes. And they'll just print it to a printer that would be for soft proof, and it will automatically add the word proof and our background on it and lock down the document, so we can send that out and get the approvals.
Good, good. That'll be a savings. All right. What about you, Tom? What are your next steps?
Well, we have several things we're working on. First, we're exploring submitting our orders through Printsmith Vision to the Fiery, so that tracker would automatically record the time, and that would give us more accurate information on efficiencies for both our equipment and our staff. And we're also looking to improve our overall business analytics so that we can identify the areas that we are currently efficient in and those that we need to improve. We're also continuing to review and improve our workflows and increase our use of job flow. As John said earlier, there's many things in the library that you can just go see that other people have already done that may fit the needs that you have. And the last thing we're currently working on is I'm putting together a proposal to integrate both our wide format printers into one Fiery XF platform to help improve our integration and automation on our wide format orders.
So as I understand it, you actually have Fiery driving monochrome machines, color machines, and then eventually you're going to be the large format as well?
Correct. Our EFI H1625 is already Fiery driven, but I'm looking to upgrade our Fiery XF platform so that we can drive all our wide format equipment from one machine. So it'll be a more integrated solution and save some time and repetitive steps that we do now.
Nice, nice. Okay, we're coming towards the end of it, and I've been impressed with everything that you've accomplished as we've worked on pulling this together. But what I think I'd like to do now is to wrap it up with your advice to people who are listening, who are considering automation. Can you share what worked well for you and, perhaps what you wish you might have done differently? Let's start with you, Tom.
I would say the biggest thing that I would have done differently is started the automation process earlier, so that we would have gotten more efficient sooner and been able to expand on other items. I mean, sounds like a small thing, but timing is everything, I guess. The biggest thing I would recommend probably is two things. To make sure you have a plan for your automation. Lay out where you are today, what you're trying to achieve, and have a plan to get from point A to point B, and involve EFI in that discussion as they have many solutions, and as everyone knows, what works for me may not work for you, but what works for John may work for you. So they're going to know what tools are available to help you get to your goal and implement that plan. And they also have a lot of good learning tools at learning.efi. We used a lot of those early on when we were creating our plan to see what they had available to get an idea of how to get to our end goal.
Okay, thank you, Tom. What about you, John?
It's always a work in progress. We're always identifying repetitive tasks. The demonstration that was shown today of the MVP, the photographs, that was definitely a work in progress. I mean, we started off, the old school individually InDesign them and placing the whole file in InDesign, make a PDF and sending it to the printer. Then the next step, what we did is we had early on in job flow, we just created PDFs out of them. So then we had a group of PDFs. We would combine those PDFs. And the job flow they have them all sized and ready to go. We combine them. That was the next step, and then the next step into that was now we collect them into one file. You could see how in that demonstration how they zipped all those JPEGs up and they came out as one file, which was ready to print. So and that eliminated going back out front for them to combine the PDFs. So and that was a repetitive task. So it's just identifying what they are and looking in the library, because that library is your best friend, or just trying to think. Sometimes you just have to think out of the box and say, if I could do this, and I haven't found anything yet that I couldn't do that utilizing job flow and the fiery tools that are given to me to do. And the other key thing is listen to your employees. If there's something they're frustrated at doing, it's probably because they're doing it very repetitively. What I find the younger generation, they're used to things being very automated. So, I've been in the industry a long time, but this takes that repetitive stuff out of the business. Whereas they don't like what they're doing, it takes them a longer time. But what I've learned, the software doesn't complain; it just works. And listen to your sales reps, because I wouldn't have put this platform in if it wasn't for my sales rep. They always have great industry knowledge and the new things coming around the pike, which is really huge. I think they're a great resource for me.
Okay.
So.
Well, I want to thank both of you for participating today. I'm certain that many of our listeners found your insights valuable. I'm going to turn this webinar back over to Carlos for some closing information in a minute and to open it up for questions, which will also invite the EFI product team to join in answering. But first, I want to remind everyone about some free resources related to automation. As I mentioned earlier, you can download the EFI Automation Building Blocks ebook at fiery.efi.com/automation-ebook. And this ebook contains a lot of stuff. Each phase in the book contains details and links to free resources such as how-to guides, videos, and e-learning courses that will help you solidify your understanding. In other words, the ebook isn't some theoretical sales tool that tells you what to buy. It's a useful resource developed by EFI experts using real-world experiences of printers like Tom and John that helps you discover the automation approaches and resources most appropriate for your unique operation. And in addition to the automation ebook, there are also interactive ebooks to help you estimate the ROI of job flow and impose based upon your unique shop information that you can download and learn about at efi.com/jobflow and efi.com/impose. And finally, there are a myriad of other resources, including free online training and community support forums that are available as well. If you're interested in the Fiery products, web-to-print, MIS, and wide format offerings that John and Tom mentioned, you can learn more at the links on this slide or contact EFI at 1-800-875-7117 for NBS. But let's get to your questions. Carlos, what have people been asking during this session?
Thank you, Greg. Well, we have several questions today to answer. The first one is a question for John and Tom. The question is, do you have any non-fire driven presses or printers at your shop?
This is Tom. Yes, we did. Originally, when we first started automating, we had 2 Xerox Naveras that were free flow driven. So when we bought our first new color machines, we actually got a couple Xerox color presses. We acquired Fiery Central, which allows you to integrate and automate with non-fiery driven printers. Since then, we replaced them, so we now have all fiery driven devices.
Great, What about you, John?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't understand.
Yeah, so if you have any other controllers, any other non-Fiery driven presses at your company, or you're fully
Oh
Fiery
yeah,
user?
we do. But everything as I start replacing it, because the workflow is so great, I've been replacing them with Fiery controllers. I still have one machine that I physically have to go file print to. But a lot of the jobs that I do on that machine are being moved to the machines that I have a Fiery on.
Cool, smart decision. Well, before we continue with the next question, many people are asking if we will submit the presentation later on. Yes, you all will get an email from us with the presentation and the video when people want to share with their coworkers, etc. So, next question. Is JobFlow a free download for Xerox EX180 and EXI180? I don't know if Rob or Hans can answer.
So for the EX, yes, you can download that JobFlow base for that. For the EXI, there's an option that's called productivity package that would be required to be purchased for JobFlow base to work on that Fiery.
Okay, good. So next question, am I able to use the level of automation for large format print? If so, is there support for CNC cutting tables such as Kongsberg or Sund? Maybe Hans know more about it?
Yes, thank you, Carlos. Fiery JobFlow supports all Fiery-driven devices, so including the display graphics and wide format devices that are driven by Fiery XF. This is actually one of the couple of questions we got about CNC cutting finishers. So we do support the Duplo finishers and some other third-party finishers specific for cut sheet. For wide format, depending on the controller that drives the cutting machine, either JobFlow supports it out of the box by configuring a workflow and making sure that the die cut information, etc., is sent to the controller, or we need to have a closer look on the what the controller software actually expects. Final comment I would like to make on that is that we are looking at actively working on extending the feature set of Fiery JobFlow to support these third-party cutting finishers, including the ability to tile irregular shapes onto a sheet or onto a sheet, so that they can that we can do both the tiling and sending the cutting information to the cutting controller.
Yes, thank you, Hans. Yes, we have a similar question here. Does JobFlow registration marks and CAD path for Kongsberg cutting table? Can JobFlow nest jobs with various sizes?
So first part of the question, can we add the registration marks in the cut information? Yes, that's actually requires some configuration, but that's something we can do today. As far as driving that cutting machine, that is something we need to look at. And again, we're actively working on integrating with solutions that would allow us to do that a lot easier than today.
Okay, thank you. Next question, Hans. Can the Duplo register off just the barcode and not the L?
Yeah, JobFlow supports all the barcodes that are supported by the Duplo finishers, either through Fiery Impose or by simply adding the workflow that has the Duplo supported barcodes. The Duplo workflow that we have shown in this session, well, we have different levels of Duplo workflow. So, but if you have any further questions about that, please reach out to your EFI contact person, and they can put you in contact and share the workflows that we have created for the Duplo finishers.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question. We have 3 Fiery printers here. We have but we definitely are not running smoothly. None of us know how to get our foot in the door. What will be the best first step for us to start running smoothly as a profitable print shop? Well, we will recommend to download and check the automation ebook we mentioned before. Many of these first steps you're asking for are available on your file already. You have to understand how the features work and how you could configure them. Also, we will recommend you to visit our e-learning platform, check in your courses, and as Hans just said, please contact us, send us an email, and we will be glad to help you. Okay.
Yeah, I would also like to add to that, and also would like to invite our esteemed guests to just share how they started, but I think that's already covered in this presentation. I cannot stress enough, start small. Don't try to boil the ocean. Don't try to, I've visited many print shops just to check as a product manager, just to see what print shops are doing by standing in the corner or sitting at a desk and just looking at what the print shop operators do. And when you mention or when you show workflow automation, I've found that the tendency is that they're trying to automate the most complicated job they get in their print shop because they spend the most amount of time on that particular job. While I think our two guests hopefully can confirm, it's by starting small, creating that imposition template that automate the simple jobs rather than your most complicated jobs and build it from there, gain the confidence and then build it from there. But if any of our two guests can also chime in, that would be great.
Good. Okay, it's recommended to install JobFlow on a separate PC rather than on the Fiery server.
Depends. If you have the resources to install it on a separate PC, you can. Obviously, that's best from a management and just a performance point of view. But if you don't have the resources, you can install JobFlow on all external Firies that we have been shipping in the last couple of years. Sometimes that makes more sense because you then have one device that has both your workflows and the Fiery. But all depends. We support both. In some cases, in most cases, JobFlow base is pre-installed on external Firies. So.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and I will add just visit our website, or you will find a lot of information about JobFlow and also the system requirements, so you can check if you can install it. What kind of Fiery you have, so all the details are there available. Okay, next question. If you have many different types of Fiery drivers, it's difficult to set up JobFlow, so it can be submitted to any of them?
It can submit to any Fiery supported press. So whether that's your cheap multifunctional that has the embedded Fiery, the small box that is attached to the back of the Fiery, or if you have a high volume cut sheet device like the Xerox iGen or some of the more high volume devices that our partners make. We support all Fiery XF driven devices, so that's your display graphics and wide format. And we even support our high-speed inkjet. So our Nozomi packaging printer is supported by Fiery JobFlow.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if we don't have a cutter that is supported, Doku cutter is, I think, the name. Will the JobFlow still add the crops, etc., needed to cut?
Yes, exactly. Most of with regards to third-party finishers, whether that's for cut sheet or wide format, the challenge is getting the information to the controller. Every controller, unfortunately, requires different ways or different format. And that's the one part that we need to figure out. But adding the marks and registration mark, cut lines, etc., that's something that we can do out of the box.
Thank you. Will the chat questions be included in the recording? Yes, we will add this part of the session today on the video you will receive. in a few days. So maybe a question for Rob. I would like to confirm what you said. JobFlow-based is a software that allows me to perform some automation tasks at no charge.
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
Okay. What about trials? It's possible to have access to a license for a period of time to test it?
Yes, you can get a 30-day trial from us. So you can go to our website and request a trial at efi.com/jobflow. You can download or request a free trial there. Yep.
Okay, cool. We use Fiery Impose a lot. How can we integrate our templates into JobFlow?
So the way that happens is that when you set up the workflow itself, if you're connecting to that Fiery, it'll automatically see those templates, okay? If they're on a different Fiery, we can actually pull them across and put them in the resources section inside of JobFlow, but it's actually just part of the workflow where you add the imposition piece to your process.
Okay. So we have a couple of minutes. I don't know if you want to add something, Rob or Greg or one of you guys, John or Tom.
I see a question here, Carlos, where they're asking about asking Tom and John how many hours it took to implement their JobFlow stuff.
I mean, for me, yeah, I had some help from EFI at first, but as I come across like the one that was demonstrated today, you know, that workflow literally took me 5 minutes to build. So, you know, that was the first generation of that, and then I just kept adding to it. Which the first generation worked well, but we just made it work a whole lot better. So it really doesn't take a lot of time. It's just a matter of understanding. If you use Impose templates today to use JobFlow, it's really not a difficult thing to do.
Okay.
What about you, Tom?
Very similar to John. You know, if you had your Impose templates set up already, getting them in and creating a workflow in JobFlow is not very time consuming. And as Hans said earlier, start out with the easy tasks and build from there, and then it goes quicker, because as you get more complex, you already know the basics. So it's just like using a set of building blocks.
It's like putting
And when
power
you said
windows
that-
in your car.
When you said that you did it, do you have IT specialists to do this, or?
No, not at all. Everything was done by ourselves, myself, and you know, did get help from EFI on a few things that were a little bit more complicated, just to make sure everything was correct. But similar to John, I looked in the library, found the business card thing, and then expanded on that.
Thank you. Okay. So I would like to thank, first of all, John and Tom for your participation in the session today. Great. Thank you so much. And also big thank you to the rest of the team. Please don't forget, for the attendees, you will receive our email with the video and the presentation. And don't miss the next World of Friday. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye now.